70% of expecting dads report feeling unprepared for fatherhood. Are you one of them? As an expecting dad, it's easy to feel overwhelmed before the birth of your child. The list of things to do seems endless, and so you feel stressed, and so you avoid doing it, which makes you more stressed, which makes you avoid doing it. You end up in this vicious cycle of dadsiety, that feeling that you have so much to do and you have no idea where to start. What if there were things you could do today, right now, that could get you well on your way to being ready for fatherhood? Hey, I'm Dad Coach Doug. I'm a mental health specialist who runs a community for dads that's all about empowering and supporting fathers. And I'm here to tell you 5 things that you can do today that can make you feel more father ready and overcome dadsiety. Spoiler alert, number 5 is probably the most important. Getting straight into it, try and remember community over content. What do I mean by this? Well, one of my favorite content creators is Andrew Kirby. He's made millions in a very short amount of time. And when he was interviewed about how he did so well at such a young age, he said that having a mentor and having a community was like having a cheat code or a time portal. Why? Because these people have walked the path before you. They know the dangers and they know the opportunities, and they can let you know ahead of time. And this reminds me of a great quote from Otto von Bismarck. Only a fool learns only from his mistakes. A wise man learns from everyone else's. So how can you leverage the power of other dads? Well, that's through action step number 1. Speak to other dads. You cannot believe how many of them are just waiting to tell you all their tidbits. And I know sometimes the advice is kind of unwarranted or unwanted, but it's very different when you find the people that are close to you and you ask them directly. I've been interviewing up to 100 dads, and I found some super interesting stuff in there. And I was amazed how many dads had these great tidbits that you just don't find on the internet. So action step number 1 is talk to other dads. It could be family or friends. And if you're at a loss, then come join my community. That's all we have in there is just dads. So feel free to join us and come learn from the other dads and be the wise man that Otto von Bismarck spoke about. Now, speaking of dads that have been through it already, one of the dads in my community has just had his first child. But here's the thing. It came 9 days early, and as he described it, he was caught a little flat-footed. He got to the hospital, and things did not go to plan. They ended up having an emergency C-section, and he had to stay an extra 2 days in the hospital. Now, he had everything that he needed for the baby and for mom, but not for himself. And that leads me to action step number 2. Pack daddy's hospital bag today. Now, of course, there's a hospital bag for mom and baby, but it's going to take a while to get all those things, and it's going to require the help of your partner to pack those things. That's okay. That's a future thing. But this video is all about things you can do today, and this is something you can do today. Now, if you want a list of what to put into your personal bag, as well as the hospital bag in the future, check out the link in the description. That'll give you a comprehensive list in my community. It's very important that you don't end up getting caught flat-footed. And also, you can pack that bag of yours today and have it in the car waiting and know that you're one step closer to being father ready. Now, that's not the only list I suggest as it happens. If your partner is anything like mine, or maybe you are like my partner, then buying baby stuff is getting a little bit carried away. Every day I get back home, there are more Amazon packets around the house, and we just end up with a lot of stuff. Now, look, you can buy what you want, and if you want the adorable outfits and the gadgets, that's all fine. But just don't get in a situation where you have the latest gizmo, but you don't have enough nappies. You see, some things are essential and some things are nice to have, and there's a difference. Make sure that you have got all the essentials first, and then you can start adding on to that list with the other things. So action step number 3, make yourself a baby's essential list. This is going to make sure that you get the things that you need to have first, and then you can get the add-ons later. It's also going to make sure you don't end up with duplicates or decuplicates, which is 10 times as many things as you need, which is what's happening in our household at the moment. And it also means that you can hand that list to family and friends and say, hey, we have these things, but we could really do with these things. And it just makes the whole process a little bit more streamlined. Now, if you're not sure what you need to get, then again, check out my community. There's a link to the essential babies list there, and you can get the exact things that you need to start with your baby the first week or 2 that it's home with you. And just a little tip with that, if you use Amazon wishlist to buy £20 worth of those items, they will send you a free bundle close to your due date, which is always nice to get free stuff, right? Now, when you start buying all these things, essential or otherwise, you may start going through 2 big questions in your mind. One is, where do we put all this stuff? And 2, how do we afford all this stuff. Now, I dealt with the first one first, which was where are we going to put all this stuff? And I thought, this is nice and easy. There's a whole lot of things I need to get rid of in the wardrobe anyway. So I started going through, grabbing items I didn't want, need, or could fit into anymore, and put them into a charity bag to drop off. Now, my missus looked at that bag and was like, there's some good stuff in here. Now, normally she takes the clothes for herself, but she was like, we could sell these. And so she started listing them on Vinted, and she sold almost all of them. Now, she started buying our baby stuff from Vinted, which meant it was much cheaper, and actually meant that she could use the credit that she got from selling my clothes. It's meant that the majority of stuff we bought on Vinted for our baby has been free effectively, which leads me to action step number 4, which is actually a twofer: make money by making space. Now, all this talk about things we need to purchase and items that are essential leads us into one of the biggest traps that expecting dads fall into: focusing on the external and ignoring the internal. Now, I was the same until I spoke to one of the 50 dads in my community. He told me something very interesting. He said, kids are funny. They reflect so much of us that it's sometimes hurtful. And when I asked him to elaborate on this, he said, they just copy so much of you, the good and the bad. And quite often we see the bad, and it's really hurtful to see something that we've ignored in ourselves. And this is something that really stuck with me and made me realize that part of being a dad, or part of being father ready, is getting our emotional state, our internal environment ready, not just the external environment. It made me realize that part of being a dad is recognizing the flaws in myself and sorting myself out, being self-aware about who I am and how I show up, and not willfully ignoring the things that about me that aren't the best. And this takes a lot of introspection. And the great news is we don't have to wait till the birth of our child to start doing this. We can do it right now, today. And we can do that by asking ourselves some deep and hard questions. So action step number 5 is ask yourself, who do you want to be as a dad? Now, that may be enough for you, but if you want a more specific question, because that's too vague, you can start by asking yourself, who are the role models of fatherhood in your life? Now, unfortunately, my dad died way before I became a dad, and so I couldn't ask him. But there are lots of other dads out there. There's other dad role models that you may or may not know that you look up to. I know, for instance, Jordan Peterson, Andrew Huberman, and my brother are all great examples of good dads and masculinity. And so I look to them and I look for what it is about them that inspires me. And then I try to take the best aspects of that and apply it to me as a person and me as a father. Just thinking about what a good dad is a simple and easy way to start to build a vision of what type of dad you want to show up as. If you want any more help with this, I have 6 other questions for you to answer to help build this vision even further. And of course, that is all in my free community. Link is below. That's it. 5 things that you can do today to get started on your fatherhood journey. And if you need any more help or support, just reach out. You know where to find me.